DreamWorks. What do you know about them? The studio that makes good animated movies? Yes. Shrek, Madagascar, B-Movie, Kung Fu Panda, Monsters vs. Aliens, How to Train Your Dragon, Megamind, Puss in Boots, Goated Puss in Boots 2, Rise of the Guardians, and the rest of the good sequels to most of the franchises. And from them came an adaptation of a book that I haven't read, The Wild Robot, the best animated movie of this year. And in this video, we find out if it's true. It all starts with a group of cute otters finding and turning on a robot named Rosal. Of course, the otter family is shocked by the robot and doesn't fucking understand what's going on. The robot doesn't understand anything either. She is programmed to always have to perform some task. If there is no such task, she will look for it. A wave knocks her off her feet and sends her to a sheer cliff. And to avoid being destroyed by the huge wave, she mimics a crab. In general, Rosal will do this a lot. I mean, not walking like a crab, but learning from other animals. Let's get a little distracted. Just look at it. It's incredibly beautiful. I kissed the hands of those who did the visuals. When I first watched the movie, I literally stopped the movie 3 times in 5 minutes to look at it. Then I got used to it. But man, I can't continue without talking about how cool it all looks. Rosal gets out to the forest and goes exploring. She tries to find the client whose assignment she's going to fulfill.
Did you perhaps order a Rosal helper robot?
It's not a client. And it's not either. All animals are afraid of an unknown creature. It's my favorite kind of running in cartoons. Rosal tries to keep going, but it doesn't work. How beautiful. Animals attacking each other. I'm surprised they showed the head of that painted bird. YouTube don't ban me, it's animated. The animal fight is interrupted when the skunk comes in. If I were them, I'd back off too. Roz takes the animal by the tail and realizes she doesn't understand anyone because she doesn't know the language. So she stays in place to listen to the inhabitants of the forest and understand how their language works. It is interesting that all the animals speak the same language and understand each other. Walking out to the animals again, Robot continues to be bullied and called a monster. Later, Rosal climbs to the highest point on the island to summon her creators to get her. But she is struck by lightning, and later is taken apart by raccoons. I love raccoons. In this hand, it's not going to say anything for the movie, but it's going to do a lot of things. Rosal's trying to deal with the raccoons. One of them took the transmitter into the bear's crib, and in an attempt to escape from the bear, Rosal accidentally falls on a duck's nest, killing it. There she finds an egg with an unhatched chick. Feeling responsible, she decides to protect the egg until it hatches, the moment when Robot is responsible for his actions, unlike some people. Rosal gets distracted for a second and her egg is stolen. She rushes off in pursuit. Meet the charismatic fox, Fink. By the way, he's voiced by Pedro Pascal.
Do I have to do everything?
In the end, the fox falls to the porcupine and gives up the egg. After the fox is cleaned, he runs away and the chick hatches. The goose recognizes the robot as its mother, and that's very cute. But no, I thought the robot would immediately move away from its settings and be such a kind and caring mom to the baby chick. But here's another trope. Rosal has accomplished her task and goes looking for a higher place to call her creators and head back to the factory. The goose, of course, follows her, thinking the robot is his mom, and ends up breaking her transmitter because he wants a mother's love. Rosal notices a family of opossums and drops off a gosling. That's Pinktail. And that's the kind of parent I'll be.
Go away. We're your children.
Pinktail explains to Rosal that she needs to be a mom to the fledgling, even if she's not ready for it, and gives her a parenting task. The goose must eat, swim, and fly before fall, or it will... Rosal embarks on her task of parenting, but doesn't quite understand how to do it.
Fly!
Fink notices the odd behavior, volunteering to help her and teach her how to be a parent. Of course, he thinks of himself first, and picking up delicacies from all over the forest with Rosal's help. But in the end, in one easy move, he shows her where to get food for the gosling, and explains to Robot that they live in the wild. Brutal. Fink also explains that the gosling is not normal, but a little bit defective, and because of this, its chance of survival is small. But Rosal is not going to give up, and together they build a shelter. In the forest, they meet a beaver who is going to cut down the biggest tree, and not just for the sake of showing it to us. You know, here Chekhov's gun will shoot. And, by the way, the gosling started talking, but it was hard for him to pronounce the robot's full name, so now they call her Roz, and at night, they give the goose a name, Brightbill, and they tell a story to help the baby fall asleep.
Love.
Yeah, well, when you grow up without something, you spend a lot of time thinking about it.
I sympathize with Fink. One Fox is better written than all the characters in the Crow reboot. As time goes on, Brightbill grows up and acts just like his mom, and he's just like his mom is feared by the other animals, thinking he's a monster. They go out to the lake to teach the bird to swim.
The impact alone will probably kill him. Yeah!
I love these kids. The problem for the goose is that they teach him as a human, not a bird.
Oh, good.
Brightbill swims to the side of the lake with the other geese, and there he starts getting bullied by his peers for not being like them.
You don't belong here.
Roz comes to his defense. She saves him not only from the other geese, but also from a predatory fish. But unfortunately, she loses part of her leg in the process. After the incident, the bullying continues, and Brightbill finds out that his real mom was killed by Roz. He's shocked, of course, and they all go home together.
I understand.
You don't understand anything. You don't feel anything. You're not my mom.
How this movie twists my emotional state. My God. I mean, in the beginning, it was comedy. A little later, they reveal the challenges of being a parent, and literally 20 minutes later, you're brought to your knees, in tears by family drama, emphasizing the crisis of rejection. No sarcasm. Later, a sad Roz arrives at the crash site of her capsule and finds the remains of other robots of her species. There she learns of its purpose and where it was supposed to be. She manages to piece together a whole robot from the wreckage to talk to. Rubbish. Rubbish tries to help by advising Roz with her assignment, but nothing works until... During the diagnosis, Rubbish learns that Roz has been rewriting her program for months. And by the way, you can hear it in her tone when she says something.
I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
It's like she has feelings and emotions now. Eventually, Roz gets the transmitter and can go home. She sits on the mountain, and Fink comes to her. It's talk time.
There is someone small there that needs my help.
But time is running out, and Brightbill must learn to fly as soon as possible.
Are those?
He's out of time. He has to say yes.
No!
They manage to come to an agreement and begin learning to fly based on other birds. Let's start by saying that I'm a sentimental person, okay? The whole movie is an emotional roller coaster for me, but it's so high quality. It doesn't feel forced or artificial. I believe in the story and the way it's told. I genuinely empathize with the characters, not like the last two movies I reviewed. Roz and Brightbill continue to learn, and Roz builds a takeoff pad and Paddler makes her a prosthetic out of a log so she can move around comfortably again. That's sweet. Realizing that creatures who have never flown will never be able to properly teach Brightbill to fly, they ask Falcon for help. Thunderbolt,
Small wings are teeth, the claws of the sky.
who is happy to help the goose learn to fly the way geese don't normally do. While the birds are in the air, Roz is visited by one of the leaders of the geese flock, Longneck, who is delighted with Brightbill and his mom. He informs her that they will be leaving in a week and the goose will need stamina to survive the migration.
If where his wings end, his heart can pay the balance.
That phrase sounds like a cliche, but it touched me to the core. I'm ready to give this movie a 10 out of 10. Brightbill begins endurance flight training.
Get your butt back up in the air where it belongs!
This is really the most effective motivation that actually works. Training is over and it's time for migration. The trio comes to the geese who are preparing to migrate.
The accident that killed your family saved you.
I like the way Brightbill's attitude towards Roz is shown here. To some extent, yes, she is to blame for the deaths of his loved ones, but she gives him a chance at life that he wouldn't have had if it weren't for the tragedy. You can see that he loves his mom, even though she's not his own, but she did everything she could to give her child a good future, and we'll see that she didn't do it for nothing. Brightbill is like an uncomprehending teenager who is angry at his parents, but deep down loves them very much.
I could use a boost.
The birds are in the air, and they're flying off to winter. You know, they could have just done the arc where Roz teaches the bird to fly, stretch it out into a full-length movie, and it would have been, well, okay, not quite a complete and finished movie, a little bit cranky, but they would have made bucks. But they showed the full story in one movie, and made even more money on what they did very well. I make this bow and applause to everyone who worked on the movie. Winter has come, and all the animals are getting ready for winter. Roz and Fink have completed their parts of the task, and they can go their separate ways. But Roz doesn't start the transmitter and stays to wait for Brightbill in the spring. Speaking of which, he successfully travels with his pack. They fly into the factory where Roz is from, a greenhouse with robots working in it, but Brightbill thinks it's his mom.
Roz,
chaos ensues, in which Brightbill reveals himself and shows what he can do. But unfortunately, it's the middle of winter. It's much colder than expected, and Fink has come to Roz. The robot can't leave the other animals to die in the cold. So together with Fink, they find and rescue the animals by dragging them to their shelter. This is my favorite scene. Even the bear gets rescued. However, all the animals are fighting with each other. Roz lacks energy and leaves Fink in charge.
Most of you hate me, and I hate most of you.
Roz can rest. She's done all she can to save these animals.
She risked everything to bring you here.
I need you to promise me one thing. A truce. Just while we're in here.
I'm in tears. And that's how all the animals get together and survive the winter. I wonder how predators survive 2 months without food and water in the same place with their prey. Okay, maybe they just wait out the storm and go about their business. But as a result of this event, some animals have become friends, and so it turns out that the animal elite has formed, which does not eat each other, but the rest of the animals who survived the winter not with them? Anyway, spring is coming. Roz wakes up and the geese fly back. Roz is happy that her son was able to survive and come back. Plus, in the meantime, he has become quite a celebrity among the birds. Fink is happy to see his friend, which scares the other geese.
No.
After learning that Roz has stayed on the island for him, Brightbill wants to meet his mom, but Roz is hiding. And in the night, her maker's ship comes for her, Vontra, invites Roz onto the ship, and she accepts, until she hears Fink, which caused her to jump out of the ship and run away without a problem. A full-blown military chase begins, with other animals joining in.
You do not belong here. This is a wilderness.
And I am a wild robot.
She said it. In the battle, the animals win, but Vontra blows up the other robots to distract the animals from Roz, starting a fire in the forest. The wild robot is kidnapped and begins to retrieve its memory for further study, but Brightbill and the other geese prevent the ship from leaving. Brightbill manages to get in, but it causes him to break his wing. He finds his mom unconscious.
I love you.
This robot has consciousness, emotions, and feelings. While they're trying to escape from the ship, the other animals are going to put out the fire. But how? Remember the biggest tree the beaver tried to cut down? That's the one that's going to help. On the way out of the ship, they are met by Vontra, who points a gun at the family and is about to kill them. But Roz's hand activates a magnet that pulls Robot. Before being destroyed, Vontra says that robots will be sent for Roz constantly to bring her back to the factory. To escape from the downed ship, they jump from great heights. And to save her baby, Roz makes room inside herself for Brightbill by throwing out her guts.
Don't you need that?
I have everything I need.
Hard landing. But they survived. Unlike most of the forest, the animals are ready to fight for Roz in the island as long as it takes, but the wild robot wants to protect his loved ones. So she decides to surrender and go to the factory voluntarily. Fink was upset, but he was reassured.
You can tell me.
Afterward, the entire island gathers to rebuild their winter shelter. And just in time for winter, all the animals gathered again to overwinter. And Brightbill went to see Roz, who still remembers
You
him.
can call me Roz.
Thank you, DreamWorks, for another masterpiece. Thank you, Peter Brown, for the book. And thank you for watching. I give 10 out of 10 to this movie, and it's the best animated movie of this year. I wanted to ask you something very important. I use an AI to voice over my videos, and often it doesn't sound the way I imagined when I wrote the script. The question is, would you prefer my voice to sound like it does now, or sound like
this? This is my real voice, and I didn't want to use it because of my not perfect English accent. So write in the comments what you think, and maybe the next video will be 100% me and not AI voiced. And if you've watched this far, consider subscribing to the channel and watching the video that YouTube recommends especially for you. See you in the next video.